Hello, everybody. My name is Yannis Zorbas. I'm a principal in the Boston Consulting Group in Athens, and I'm the project lead for Innovation Procurement Hubs, which, as mentioned by Elena, is an initiative by DG Grow and ACE-MEA jointly. To start a little bit with what we are trying to do with the Innovation Procurement Hubs program, we are essentially building four key elements. The first is we're building an innovation procurement ecosystem map, trying to map who is who across the European Economic Area in terms of innovation procurement from the demand side, not the supply side, understand who are the public buyers, and also who are what we call the ecosystem enablers in innovation procurement, including, for example, competence centers, innovation challenge platforms, funding agencies, academia, industry associations, and everybody who in some way might affect the framework for innovation procurement, mostly focusing on PPI, but also considering pre-commercial procurement as well. The reason why we're doing this mapping, of course, is not just to understand who are the players, but also document what are the best practices, and also what are the key issues that organizations currently face in adopting innovation procurement as a process and as a framework for procuring innovative products and solutions. On the demand side, again, we're talking about public buyers. The second one is we are designing support packages and peer-to-peer exchanges for public authorities. Both of these advisory packages and exchanges are meant, first of all, to support these authorities in addressing the issues I mentioned before as they emerge from the ecosystem mapping and create, let's say, ways, processes, frameworks, mechanisms, templates to overcome these challenges and start implementing innovation procurement. Also, to create a little bit of networking, to give the opportunity to public authorities to connect with one another, harmonize to the extent possible, but also learn from the examples, the lessons learned, and the successes, or even the challenges of other public buyers across Europe who have been a little bit more experienced in innovation procurement. The third is we are building a community of practice with people from these organizations, where, first of all, we can communicate what's happening in the project, in the program, give them a little bit of an understanding of the resources, the surveys, the tools, and the insights we have from the program, but also allow them to connect with one another and get a little bit more familiar. Of course, the objective here is that even after we are done with the program, the community of practice will remain, and it will become a community where people can connect with each other and start exchanging challenges, best practices, tools, and ideas. The fourth element is what we call the strategy and the project plan for a future co-publishing space. DG Grow wants to understand if there is an opportunity to create a dedicated publishing platform for innovation challenges, for innovation procurement challenges, separate from the typical procurement portals that you have either at the national or the EU level, like TED, and has asked us as part of this program to create different options of what this co-publishing space might include, either in terms of use cases, what people can use this co-publishing space to do, or features, right? What kind of tools we are embedding in this platform to allow people to use this platform accordingly. Again, this is just a design. This is for allowing the European Commission to decide what kind of option it wants to move on with. And according to that option, we will also create a project plan so that the platform, this co-publishing space, can be implemented in the future. Now, why are we doing all this, right? We know that there are structural issues both on the demand and the supply side on innovation procurement. On the one hand, we have public administrations that generally are a little bit more risk averse. They are a little bit slow in taking up innovation procurement as a practice because, first of all, of issues that have to do with how they understand innovation procurement being aligned with their targets, with the innovation strategy, with the growth strategy of each country or region. And also because typically there is a rather constraining legal framework, there is little consistency in funding and financing of innovation procurement, and there are generally challenges in how they engage both with public authorities internally, but also with suppliers to engage in innovation procurement. So our aim here is to help them address these challenges, increase the uptake of innovation within public administrations, improve the quality of public services, of course, through this innovation procurement, but also align with needs expressed at the societal level, both within their own context, their own national or regional context, but also across countries, right? On the other hand, we do know that for innovative suppliers, especially startups and SMEs, participating in public procurement is especially challenging, both from a perspective of knowledge and experience of how to do so, but also resources. It's quite intensive, it's quite complex, it's quite bureaucratic. So what we're trying to do is also create a framework that allows them to participate with reduced overhead, have processes that are simpler, more straightforward, and with less pure variations. We want to improve their access to that public procurement by giving them visibility on what opportunities are out there without the noise that exists right now and the volume of different procurement initiatives that are not innovation related. And of course, help them connect to the wider ecosystem in a closer way, understand who are the other stakeholders in play, either on the supply side, but most importantly, on the buy side. Now, in terms of what support we are providing, as I mentioned before, we have identified 17 key issues that are the most pervasive for innovation procurement across the different countries we have surveyed. We have prioritized these issues, and based on these 17 issues, we have defined a support offering, which consists, as I mentioned before, from 18 different advisory packages, essentially modules of direct consulting support to address these issues in different organizations in different countries. And on the other hand, we have what we call peer-to-peer exchanges, which are essentially physical and virtual engagements for peer knowledge sharing between public buyers across different countries. We also have set up an expression of interest system with a survey, which is essentially the gateway through which authorities that are interested in receiving this kind of support in either form can essentially come in and tell us what they're interested in. First of all, which of these types of support, what are the issues that they're trying to address, and what are their priorities, their preferences, and their perception about the root causes, right? We want to understand what might be relevant for them out of the 18, for example, advisory packages, but also what the scope and the focus of this advisory support should be. What are the problems that we are trying to solve? Okay? And based on, of course, these requests, we create a pipeline for support, and we engage beneficiaries either to provide the direct advisory consulting or to engage them in the peer-to-peer exchange. In terms of the packages that I mentioned before, the modules that I mentioned before, they are 18, and they cover 7 different areas, 7 different themes. There are packages that have to do with what we call strategic alignment and planning. So essentially packages that have to do with how we integrate innovation procurement in a national or regional growth and innovation strategy, and how we translate that strategy integration into specific targets and specific plans for innovation procurement initiatives within an organization. We have packages that have to do with governance and organizational design, how we set up decision making for innovation procurement, approvals, inputs, outputs, how people and organizations collaborate, and of course, how we need to set up in terms both of the organizational structure, but also operating model, units that have the mandate or the authority to conduct innovation procurement. And of course, collaboration framework, how such units collaborate with each other to make sure that the process is quick and efficient. We have packages under financial planning and access to funding, essentially creating a framework through which interested organizations can understand what kind of funding is available at the EU level or at the national level and how they can source it and how they can use these funds to plan the financial resources available and to create a budget for innovation procurement. We have the legal and procedural enablement that has modules related to legal and regulatory framework for innovation procurement, but also process documentation or even process redesign and leaning to make innovation procurement processes simpler, more efficient, more effective. We have one support package specifically for market engagement, how public buyers can more adequately communicate innovation challenges and engage innovative suppliers, especially those on the smaller scale, startups and SMEs. And then we have also modules on what we call enablers. First of all, capability and culture development, how we help managers in public buyers leadership positions change their mindset about what innovation procurement is, what it's trying to achieve, and how it differs from traditional procurement, and also creating what we call innovation procurement training framework, understanding the skill gaps of units that want to conduct innovation procurement and creating a plan and a framework for how to address these skill gaps and how to develop the capabilities in their staff. And of course, the two final modules on the tools and infrastructure part, a template suite for innovation procurement, essentially documents and templates that can be ready to use for specific organizations and specific legal frameworks, and the design for a shared workspace for all roles and units relevant to innovation procurement processes, so that instead of handovers, they can collaborate in a more streamlined and more direct way. Finally, I'll just give a little bit of an overview of what the co-publishing space design is about. As I mentioned before, this is about a platform that we want to function end-to-end across the value chain of innovation procurement. So our vision is for it to become a digital one-stop shop for both buyers and suppliers in the European Economic Area, in publishing, in accessing, and in collaborating on innovation challenges, all the way from identifying the social needs that need to be met through innovation to the deployment of solutions after procurement. That purpose is essentially underpinned by 5 objectives. First of all, visibility. We want to make innovation procurement activity findable and understandable from both sides in one space across the European Economic Area. Second, harmonization. We want to make this a tool through which public buyers align on their innovation procurement practices, processes, and rules across countries. The third is collaboration. We want to help public buyers collaborate across borders and across sectors to co-publish, that's part of the name, co-publish similar challenges and create what we call a digital environment for common interaction between buyers themselves, between suppliers themselves for collaboration in specific tenders, and between buyers and suppliers across the line. The fourth is capacity building. We want to use this platform also as a tool to accelerate the development of skills for public buyers and for suppliers, and boost confidence in engaging in the process of innovation procurement through simple, intuitive workflows and design. And finally, we want to use it as a lever for improvement. Essentially, we want to use this platform as a paradigm to evolve the framework for innovation procurement through monitoring and data that we capture on the success, the speed, the efficiency of innovation procurement processes run through the platform. Understand where we have issues with platforms or where the issues are process related or regulatory in nature. That's it from my side. What you can do if you're interested, especially if you are a public buyer or a public authority, is to join our community of practice. I will share the link in the chat right now. And also in there, you can also find the relevant link for the expression of interest in case you want to make sure that you are interested in this kind of support and you would like to request either advisory or participation in peer-to-peer exchanges. Feel free to share your interest, and we will get going from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yanis, for this comprehensive presentation. Now I would like to open the floor for questions for the three participants. So I remind the attendees that you can drop your question in the Q&A box that is available in the Zoom options. Meanwhile, Yanis, I would like to ask you. So you presented different support packages that you are offering in the Innovation Procurement Hubs. So what would you recommend to procurers who are actually starting to build their innovation procurement strategy? What would be the right combination of services to choose?
So thank you for the question. There is no single recommendation. It really depends on what are the issues that an organization really has in terms of implementing innovation procurement. And that's why we have this kind of expression of interest survey, right? Because having a cookie cutter solution for everyone would be not very successful in addressing the specific issues and root causes for each organization. Of course, that being said, we have defined these 18 packages, right? And this has been done by prioritizing some of the issues out of the 35 issues we identified. Said there are 17, so half of them, which are pretty common. They were affecting at least 40% of the organizations that participated in the survey. And that was the criterion of how we assessed what is common versus what is less common as an issue, right? But of course, we do know that not all of them have the same issues. It depends on maturity, it depends on context. It depends also on priorities on what they want to achieve through innovation procurement. So it's really, really important for people to go into that expression of interest survey, think about what are the actual issues they have, think about what is causing those issues. They will have choices to select from. And that will give them a range of specific support packages that are relevant to their own context. It won't list all 18, unless, of course, you say, I'm affected by all issues, right? But if you only choose one or two or three issues that are really the ones that are the most important, it will show you 3 or 4 or 5 modules applicable to your situation. And those you will also be asked to prioritize. So we ask you to, if you see the support packages, which one do you feel will allow you to most successfully address the issues that you have right now? And that actually is the recommendation from our side on where we feel you need to focus your scope of support.